Aligned with the collective expertise of UPLB's 11 academic units, the UPLB-INREM harnesses interdisciplinary knowledge to bridge the gaps in environmental research, extension, and public service. INREM promotes a holistic, systems-based, and participatory
You're live, guys.
our land, forests, water, and biodiversity. INREM sees nature and society as deeply
I
connected.
can now transfer
We believe that solving
the
environmental
host rights
problems
to
means
Bacolod.
listening to various perspectives. Scientists, civil society, farmers, fisherfolk, policymakers, indigenous people, and vulnerable communities, among others. Through interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, UPLB-INREM brings together multiple fields and stakeholders to study the environment in its full complexity. This approach ensures that our research is not detached from reality, but grounded in the actual needs, struggles, and hopes of our communities. Through this inclusive approach, UPLB-INREM ensures that knowledge co-creation reflects both scientific evidence as well as experiential and traditional knowledge from the ground, producing solutions that are not only technical, but also empathetic. We strive to turn research into action, supporting local governments, national agencies, and partner institutions to craft and implement effective environmental policies, programs, and practices. As an affiliate hub of the UP Resilience Institute, UPLB-INREM contributes to national climate action, resilience, and environmental sustainability. From field-based learning to national-level advocacy, UPLB-INREM is shaping how we respond to the major environmental challenges of our time, such as climate change, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and food insecurity. Every effort, every voice, and every perspective matters. Together, we build landscapes and seascapes that thrive, both for people and the planet.
natural resources are no longer abundant. We are more threatened by climate risk. Our population needs are ever increasing. There are those who think that water should be a free good. It's a right, just as clean air is. However, these goods don't get provided for free. You need to allocate resources to sustain them. You don't get people to move until something bad happens. We need to price the bads and the goods that are inadvertently generated in the way we use nature. Users pay, beneficiaries pay, damagers or polluters pay. Without PES, our watersheds will deteriorate. We will not be able to contribute more revenue for rehabilitating. We will not be able to make people realize that water is scarce and they should change their behavior in the way they use water. PES is the way forward. It will assure the young folks that resources and ecosystem services will still be there for them to benefit from. I think we need to get our act together. Academics need to work with other think tanks. Seldom do you have evolution unless you have brave policymakers and implementers. And the more the academics come up with their studies, the more they have the data to convince legislators to move ahead with this. Hello, I'm Marian de Los Angeles, natural resource and environmental economist, and I am advocating for payments for ecosystem services, which are empirically based, science-based, and negotiated through participatory action research.
Pag hindi ho maayos yung ating watershed, pwede ho tayong lubugin sa dami ng supply ng tubig natin from Mount Mangkalingahan. And then, kung hindi ho maayos yung ating watershed, pwede po yung nararanasan ninyong saganang supply ng tubig ay mabawasan. The PWES in Municipality of Rizal is galing po siya doon sa may binibigay po tayong services, which is the water. So yun yung tinatawag po natin na payment for ecosystem. Ginagamit po natin yung ating kalikasan, which is the water resource, and then yun yung kabayaran doon for the watershed management natin. Matagal din kaming nangarap na magkaroon ng tubig sa gripo. From the ring fencing, no, doon po natin inayos kung magkano yung amount na kailangan bayaran ng consumer. So, yun lumabas doon sa computation per cubic. Pinapakita rin po namin sa kanila the transparency na dito po na pupunta yung inyo pong piso per cubic. Ay, ano ba naman yung piso kung mayroon tayong tubig agad na makukuha sa gripo, di ba? Yung komportable tayo nagkakaroon ng supply ng tubig. Yung mga shoreline sa Palawan na may mga bumaha, hindi ko kami binaha dito. Siguro po yun yung isang effect na maayos po namin na ma-manage. Intact po yung aming watershed, kaya mayroon pong sumasalo ng maraming supply ng tubig. Vital si PWES. It's because of siya po ay funding source. PWES ang nakasagot doon sa pangangailangan namin sa mga activities na kailangan ho nating magawa na hindi ho namin nagagawa, it's because of lack of fundings. Si PWES po ang isa sa naging strategy namin para mas mabigyan din ng pangkabuhayan ang aming mga IT community sa watershed, which is ma-divert yung kanilang mga hindi magandang land use practices doon sa area. It's because of nabibigyan mo namin sila ng mga pangkabuhayan na naka-align po doon sa ating watershed management. Better kung mas ibibigay natin doon sa mga tao, sila yung tanungin, sila yung pa-decide natin.
Dito po, hirap talaga ang anak buhay.
Sa totoo lang, wala akong trabaho na permanente. Kasi ito, malaki na yung tulong sa amin.
Yung mga punla-punla, siyempre mapalitan ng mga kahoy.
Kaya malaking pasalamat po namin na nagkaroon kami ng ganito.
Meron na po kami ng buhay na hindi na makasisira sa mga kahoy.
Ako po si Alia Taom. Nakatira po dito sa Candis, Barangay Kampung Ulay, Rizal, Palawan. Sinusuportahan ko po ang Piwis.
Ako po si Nathan Saom. Sinusuportahan ko po ang Piwis.
Ako po si Sinda Banggit, sinusuportahan kong Pewis.
I am Janelle Joy Calamba Torres, licensed environmental planner, Municipal Environment and Natural Resources Officer of the Municipality of Dr. Jose P. Rizal, advocating for payment for water ecosystem services.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third installment of INREM 360. While waiting for everyone to come in, let us do a quick icebreaker to get things started and energize all of you guys who joined us early. And well, I know most of you already familiar with this, so let's play the 360 Brain Challenge. For a quick refresher, here's the game mechanics. So we will flash the question on the screen, and once you see the heart emoticon sent by Miss Germania, that is your signal to send your answers in the chat box. Remember, only send your answers after the heart emoticon from Miss Germania. And you can only win once to give others a chance, but you're still welcome to join the remaining questions just for fun. So winners will each receive an exciting prize of 100 pesos to be sent directly to your GCash accounts. Miss Chershi Evangelista will message you for your GCash details. Okay, so are the keyboard warriors ready? Okay, let's begin the 360 Brain Challenge. For the first question, what is the agreement entered into by and between the DNR and organized tenured migrant communities or interested indigenous peoples in protected areas and buffer zones? Let's see who can get this right. There's the heart emoticon. Okay. Okay, you can now chat your answers. Let's see. Okay, any guess? So this is related to protected areas. Okay, so the answer for this question is, you got it right. It is the Protected Area Community-Based Resource Management Agreement, or PACBRMA. So later in this webinar, we will know more about this instrument as we draw on the experience of the Calawis Upland Farmers Associations Incorporated. So we have two remaining questions, and this will be just a quick review for us, or to stir our interest for the upcoming webinar. So for question number 2, it is one of the categories of PAs under NIPAS and eNIPAS that pertains to areas of national significance, which are characterized by the harmonious interaction of men and land while providing opportunities for public enjoyment through recreation and tourism within the normal lifestyle and economic activity of these areas. Okay, so can you still remember the NIPAS and the eNIPAS? Okay, so the answer for this question is, okay, let's see. Okay, it's the protected landscapes and seascapes. So for everyone's information, we have a total of 8 PA categories. They are District Nature Reserve, Natural Park, Natural Monument, Wildlife Sanctuary, Resource Reserve, Natural Biotic Areas, and lastly, the Protected Landscapes and Seascapes, of which the Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape is an example. So for the last question. Okay. So based on Proclamation 296, what is the area of the Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape? Okay. So let's see. So Upper Marikina Protected Landscape has an area of 26,124.64 hectares. So this vast area holds great potential, but it also comes with a price or challenge. And we will learn more about this as we dive into our discussions later. So thank you everyone for participating and for stirring. I hope you were able to know more a bit about our topic for this afternoon. Okay, so wow, the excitement is really building up as more of you are joining in. So to complete the INREM 360 feels, don't forget to use the official Zoom background found in the chat box. We will be starting in a while, so feel free to take a quick break or invite your colleagues to join us. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Our planet is our source of life, but today, more than ever, the Earth needs our help. With the growing magnitude of human influence on the environment, our ecosystems are changing fast, for better or for worse. That's why we need an innovative approach to addressing our planet's concerns, a kind that connects people, communities, nature, and all kinds of empirical knowledge. The UPLB Interdisciplinary Study Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management, or UPLB-INREM, responds to this call. As part of UP's vision of servicing the nation, UPLB-INREM was initially established in July 2013 and officially recognized by the UP Board of Regents in April 2023 to promote the science and practice of integrated natural resources and environment management. Aligned with the collective expertise of UPLB's 11 academic units, the UPLB-INREM harnesses interdisciplinary knowledge to bridge the gaps in environmental research, extension, and public service. INREM promotes a holistic, systems-based, and participatory approach to managing our land, forests, water, and biodiversity. INREM sees nature and society as deeply connected. We believe that solving environmental problems means listening to various perspectives: scientists, civil society, farmers, fisherfolk, policymakers, indigenous people, and vulnerable communities, among others. Through interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, UPLB-INREM brings together multiple fields and stakeholders to study the environment in its full complexity. This approach ensures that our research is not detached from reality, but grounded in the actual needs, struggles, and hopes of our communities. Through this inclusive approach, UPLB-INREM ensures that knowledge co-creation reflects both scientific evidence as well as experiential and traditional knowledge from the ground, producing solutions that are not only technical, but also empathetic. We strive to turn research into action, supporting local governments, national agencies, and partner institutions to craft and implement effective environmental policies, programs, and practices. As an affiliate hub of the UP Resilience Institute, UPLB-INREM contributes to national climate action, resilience, and environmental sustainability. From field-based learning to national-level advocacy, UPLB-INREM is shaping how we respond to the major environmental challenges of our time, such as climate change, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and food insecurity. Every effort, every voice, and every perspective matters. Together, we build landscapes and seascapes that thrive, both for people and the planet.
science and evidence-based, community-driven, and future-focused. This is INREM 360 webinar series where evidence meets experience in natural resource and environment management. Good afternoon, everyone, and a big warm welcome to all joining us from around the world. We're so excited to have you here in this third episode of our INREM 360. I am Wella Catujo, your host for this afternoon. The INREM 360 webinar brings together key insights from research, practice, and field experiences of UPLB-INREM and its partner institutions. Today, we focus on a theme that emphasizes forest conservation through meaningful community participation. The French Development Agency, in partnership with the French Agricultural Research Center for International Development, or CIRAD, and the University of the Philippines Los Baños Foundation Incorporated, or UPLB-FI, through the UPLB Interdisciplinary Studies Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management, or UPLB-INREM, in collaboration with the DNR, as represented by the FMB and DMB, for the project technical assistance, support for the research and development, policy reform agenda of the policy-based loan for the Philippines on Climate Change Action Program, Phase 3. So this is in response to a request from the DNR for the development of a new protected area management model that incorporates carbon valuation. This component aims to utilize carbon as an effective economic driver for financing resilient protected area management. It also considers other site-specific economic drivers that need to be incorporated into the management plan design process. For the Philippines, the resilience of social ecosystems surrounding protected areas, including agricultural systems, is a key consideration, emphasizing the role of carbon sequestration in enhancing the resilience of agricultural systems. This pilot project aims to lay the groundwork for transforming national parks or protected areas into carbon sequestration zones in the Philippines. And the overarching goal of this project is to establish a network of national parks with specific concerns on carbon sequestration. It aims to propose a methodology for co-constructing a natural park development plan with local people and stakeholders, where at least part of the funding of the park management is provided by the carbon financing. Featuring the results of a recently completed graduate research project, this episode explores protected areas as a vital strategy for biodiversity conservation and ecosystem protection. Through the PACBRMA, or the Protected Area Community-Based Resource Management Agreement, it highlights how communities that have long depended on natural resources are supported both in sustaining their livelihoods and in accessing opportunities such as carbon financing. So let's have a quick review. Amazing. We're thrilled to have a number of 72 participants today. So let us get to know you better. So let's have a quick Zoom call to get to know where you are coming from or from what sector do you belong. Okay, let's see. So you can respond to the questions flashed on your screens. Okay, let's see if we have participants from Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao, or even international. Okay, so maybe we can flash the next question. Okay, so which sector best describes your current affiliation or work? Okay, let's see. So we have representatives from the province of Sultan Kudarat in Region 12. That is interesting. Okay. Thank you so much for responding. So to officially open our session and highlight the crucial role of having this collaboration, we are honored to hear the opening remarks from our esteemed Vice Chancellor for Research and Extension, Dr. Nathaniel C. Bantayan.
Afternoon, everyone. To our colleagues from the UPLB-INREM, our partners from DNR, our collaborators from CIRAD, our presenter today, Mr. Antoine Perrier, and to all participants joining us today. Warm greetings and thank you for being here for this episode of the INREM 360 webinar series. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this afternoon discussion, which centers on an issue at the heart of natural resource governance in the Philippines: how we can uphold both biodiversity conservation and the welfare and tenure rights of local communities who have long depended on these areas. This delicate balance of safeguarding ecosystems and sustaining human well-being is exactly why projects on integrated natural resources and environmental management, or INREM, remain so important in our work. Today's session features the ongoing master's research of Mr. Perrier, a visiting research student under the UPLB-INREM and CIRAD partnership. His study is timely, focusing on insights on how the Protected Area Community-Based Resource Management Agreement, or PACBRMA, functions in practice, particularly its role in shaping governance, land use decisions, and community realities in Barangay Calawis in Antipolo. This webinar also features something equally important to us at the university: the strengthening of our visiting researcher program. Through this program, UPLB provides opportunities for emerging researchers and scientists from around the world to immerse themselves in our local context, collaborate with Filipino experts, and generate knowledge that is both globally informed and locally grounded. Mr. Perrier's engagement with local communities in the Upper Marikina protected landscape under the joint supervision of Dr. Juan Pulhin from INREM and Dr. Philippe Rizal from CIRAD reflects the kind of meaningful interdisciplinary exchange that we aim to cultivate. Allow me also to acknowledge our ongoing collaboration with CIRAD and AFD under the Forest and Climate component of the Climate Change Action Program. Through this initiative, UPLB-INREM, together with DNR Forest Management Bureau and DNR Biodiversity Management Bureau, is working to develop national parks as carbon sequestration zones, an effort that strengthens forest protection, enhances carbon monitoring capacities, and explores carbon financing as a pathway to sustainable protected area management. This partnership highlights how climate action demands not only sound science, but also inclusive, community-centered approaches to governing our natural resources. This is why today's discussion is invaluable. The PACBRMA, as a social forestry instrument, sits at the intersection of policy, ecology, and lived experience. Its implementation, successes, and challenges face over lessons for many other protected areas across the country, where community-based conservation remains essential. I hope that as we listen to the presentation and the reflections from our agency partners, we keep in mind the broader goal of the INREM 360 to surface insights that can guide more responsive, inclusive, and grounded approaches to managing our natural resources. These conversations help us shape policies that do not merely protect forests, watersheds, and biodiversity, but also uplift the local communities whose stewardship is vital to their future. To our resource speaker, Mr. Perrier, thank you for your dedication to this work. And to everyone here today, researchers, community partners, practitioners, I encourage you to engage fully, ask questions, and share your insights. Your perspectives contribute to building a more resilient, sustainable, and equitable future for our protected areas and the communities that depend on them. On behalf of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, I thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I wish everyone a productive and meaningful session ahead. Maraming salamat and good afternoon.
Thank you, VCNL, and we are deeply grateful for your support to the Center's initiative. Also, we would like to invite the Zoom panelists to kindly turn on their cameras for a quick photo opportunity, which will be guided by Miss Hannah. Take it away, Hannah.
Hi everyone, please turn on your cameras so we can see your beautiful smiles. There you go. Okay, let me just quickly take a photo. So please smile as we... Okay, there you go. Okay, I'll take the photo in 2 batches, so please smile. Please hold your smiles. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, one last, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you so much for all the bright smiles. A few reminders as you listen, please make sure your microphones are muted. Feel free as well to drop your questions in the Q&A box. And if you are watching via our YouTube live stream, please use the hashtag INREM360. And again, for a more INREM360 vibe, please use the INREM360 Zoom background found in the chat box. And kindly rename your accounts as follows. So your name _ your institution. Okay, to present his research findings, I am delighted to introduce to you our speaker for this afternoon. He is an engineering student specializing in horticulture and forest management at the Instituto Agronomy and AgroParisTech. So recently, he completed his end of master's engineering internship at CIRAD, where he gained practical experience in research and project implementation related to sustainable forestry and agricultural systems. Partners, without further ado, let us welcome Mr. Antoine Perrier.
Hello everyone. So I can start to present my result. Okay, so in this presentation, as you said, I will share with you the result of my internship of my master degree in horticulture and agriculture and environment. So this 6-month internship was carried out with the CIRAD, and I was welcomed and supported for 4 months here in the Philippines by the INREM UPLB team, AFD, and the CUFAI officers. So I would like to warmly thank all of them for their support. So this internship and this presentation today is about the coexistence between local community interests and conservation issues in the case study of the Upper Marikina river basin protected landscape in the Philippines. So next. Thank you. So to provide some context for this internship, the initial request came from the DNR which wants to strengthen the resilience of Philippines landscapes to the effect of climate change. So this involves implementing carbon sequestration in national park, and it is in this context that the CCAP emerged, the CCAP project, calling of the AFD and CIRAD. The CIRAD was tasked to establish a state-of-the-art assessment of the functioning of the protected areas in the Philippines, with a particular focus on the role of local communities in this functioning. This is how the subject of my internship was developed. The aim is therefore to explore social forestry in the Philippines and its links with protected areas. So next. So in terms of the national legal context, protected areas have very old legislations and back to at least the early 20th centuries. Social forestry legislation, on the other hand, only began to be developed in the 1970s, and it was not until 2002 that the legislative link was created between the two, the protected areas and social forestry, with the NIPAS Act establishing the PACBRMA system. So this PACBRMA, so for Protected Area Community-Based Resource Management Agreement, is a land tenure tool, therefore complements the other land tenure tool outside protected area, namely CBFMA. So next. So the case study for my work was the Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape. It's a protected area created at the beginning of the 20th century, designated as a protected landscape in 2012. It covered around 26,000 hectares, and an important point is that this protected area is not very far from Manila. And within this protected area, we have a PACBRMA owned by the people organization CUFAI, officially established in 2002. The PACBRMA covers around 542 hectares in the barangay Calawis. The barangay Calawis is around 8,000 people, and the CUFAI it's approximately 400 members at the beginning of 2025. So this PACBRMA was established as a give-and-take tool, like it's a land ownership rights for the local community in exchange of a reforestation obligation for the local community. So next. So the landscape within the PACBRMA area is like we can see at the first picture. We are in the barrio of the barangay Calawis. So the PACBRMA is estimated to be 70% urbanized, but around the PACBRMA, the landscape are more agroforestry based, as we can see in the second pictures, and largely agricultural landscape. However, since the implementation of the National Greening Program in 2011, the relatively deforested areas surrounding the PACBRMA are gradually being covered by agroforest and trees, as we can see in the first maps. So next. Next, please. Yeah, thank you. Next, yeah, thank you. So to get to the heart of the matter, we are in an area covered by a protected zone, a protected area. Within this protected area, there are migrants and indigenous people seeking to legalize their presence. Due to its proximity to Manila, there is also significant infrastructure development within the protected area, as we can see in orange in the third map. And on the top of all of this, there is a reforestation project underway. Next. So this means that national, regional, and local issues converge within a relatively small shared territory. And this leads to the following problem. So how does the PACBRMA tools enable coexistence between the interests of local communities and conservation issues in the case study of the Upper Marikina protected landscape in the Philippines? So this problem can then be broken down into three research questions. So first, what influence does the city of Manila have on resource management within the protected area? What is the institutional framework surrounding CUFAI? And at the last, what role does CUFAI play in reforestation efforts? So next. So to answer that question, two theoretical frameworks were used, so governance of the commons and the sociology of organized action, with the aim of understanding resource management methods in the context of significant power struggles between different actors in the territory in the CUFAI area. This internship then led to a 4-month trip to the Philippines. 3 months were spent coordinating with the Philippines authorities to select and organize a case study. And 1 month was then dedicated to fieldwork with the multidisciplinary landscape approach as a methodology. This involves the use of various tools such as semi-structured interviews, seasonal calendars, and participatory mapping, and a household survey. All of this fieldwork was made possible thanks to the help of two UPLB students, so Architulin and Wela Katudio, who assisted me to organize and translate the exchange. So I'm also very grateful for them. Next, thank you. So we can speak about the result. The first result concerns the influence of the city of Manila on resource management. First of all, in terms of natural resources, we can see that the natural resources extracted are mainly everyday resources, such as fuel wood and wild vegetables. But what's interesting is that the importance of the resources for households has been declining since 1990, and more particularly since 2010. Here, with the graphic, I show the graph for the importance of natural resources in household income, but the dynamics are the same for agricultural resources and personal consumption. Respondent explains this decline since 2010 by the development of companies that build infrastructure to meet the needs of Manila. This provides employment for many villagers and a change of livelihood. As for land resources, these companies are putting pressure on land because their infrastructure requires land. So here on the right of the slide, of the screen, we can see the impact of this infrastructure. So next. So what is interesting is that land use seems to determine resource use. According to the results of the participatory mapping exercise, respondents identified 3 zones: the residential areas corresponding to the PACBRMA areas, agricultural areas corresponding to the surrounding of the PACBRMA, and forest areas corresponding to the strict protection zone. Each zone then has local rights that differ from state rights. Within the PACBRMA zone, few resources come out of it, but land follows a private dynamic with local arrangement. In the agricultural zone, most resources are extracted, while land is distributed among the villagers. Resource management is therefore divided between private management and private management that is sometimes more or less concerted, depending on the accessibility of the actor involved. On the other hand, forest areas are perceived as being the property. Forest areas and that are in the strict protection zone are perceived as being the property of wealthy people who are external to the communities and live in Manila. So this makes these individuals inaccessible and means that few resources are extracted from these areas, in addition to the difficulty of accessing them. So next. For the second research question about the institutional framework, the PAMO appears to be the only means of communication between the PACBRMA and the institutions. This is different for the CBFMA. Indeed, the CBFMA is governed by the PENRO, the local agency of the GNR, and more specifically by a special section of the PENRO dedicated to the management of CBFMA. So finally, the institutional framework of the CBFMA therefore appears to be more developed and to have more resources to support the CBFMA. And this is also true due to the presence of a national federation bringing together all CBFMA POs in the Philippines to engage in direct dialogue with the GNR. And this federation doesn't exist for the PACBRMA. Next. So here are the results for the third research question. So our interviews showed that the clear reforestation observed in the Upper Marikina cannot be attributed solely to the CUFAI. When we asked to the CUFAI members why they joined the CUFAI PO, reforestation was rarely mentioned. Instead, the two main motivations were land security and access to services. When we asked about CUFAI activities, we found that these activities have generally been rare since recent years. Therefore, the CUFAI activities cannot alone explain the reforestation observed. So next. Thank you. So this reforestation can finally be explained by three factors. So firstly, the CUFAI plays an essential role in distributing seedling and has been carried out reforestation projects for over 20 years all around the Upper Marikina, not only within the PACBRMA. This seems to have created momentum, particularly among local farmers who are developing agroforestry systems all around the PACBRMA. Secondly, the strict restriction deforestation activities are increasingly limiting activities such as kangin or tree cutting or destroying the forest. So finally, another very important factor is the establishment of the companies that employ farmers, so that reduce the pressure on wood and agricultural resources, thanks to fixed and regular wages and the monopolization of farmers' working time by these companies. So these three factors explain the reforestation observed in the Upper Marikina. And this reforestation is essentially an increase in tree cover through the planting of fruit trees. So next, please. So we can now move on the discussion section. First of all, the results presented here are representative of the dynamics at work in the Upper Marikina. At the national level, they are also representative of the situation of protected area in the Philippines, where forests are generally could be degraded, but where agroforestry dynamic are underway. However, the specificities lie in the proximity of Manila, which generates specific dynamics within the Upper Marikina. So these dynamics should also be explored for CBFMA. In terms of methodology, the MLA method requires time. However, time was limited. So we had only 1 month on the field. So that's led to biases, particularly in sampling and the lack of perspectives from certain key actors, such as the barangay captain or the Dumagat Remontado, the indigenous people. And this lack of certain perspective is also linked to a lack of trust due to our short stay in the field. So next. And in conclusion, this study has helped to understand the role of the PACBRMA in reconciling the interests of local communities within conservation issues. The PACBRMA provides an official link between these communities communities and institutions, and it represents these communities and all levels of and provides them with legal and land tenure rights. And finally, it's helped to boost agroforestry and its development. The exploratory and multi-scale nature of the study methodology also make it adaptable to the context of the Upper Marikina, unprotected areas in the Philippines, and CBFMA, given that land tenure always appears to be a central issue. Finally, to return to the DNR initial question about the carbon project, this exploratory study will need to be, it's the first step, but it will to be supplemented by more detailed research on land dynamics, land transfer, transaction systems, and local perceptions of land. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Antoine, for that insightful presentation. We will now move on to the insights from the project team. To start, we'll hear the response from our very own founding director and Climate Change Action Program National Expert, Dr. Juan M. Pulhin.
Thank you very much, Huela, and good afternoon, everyone. Our colleagues from AFD, ZIRAD, DNR, our partners from local government units, representatives from the academe, civil society, as well as friends from the different regions of the country and those abroad. On behalf of the UPLB-INREM and the Climate Change Action Program, or CCCAP, we extend our warm appreciation to Mr. Antoine Perrier for his comprehensive and insightful presentation. Antoine's research provides a timely and policy-relevant insights into one of the most complex challenges in protected area management in the Philippines. That is, how to harmonize the livelihood needs of communities with national conservation priorities. By focusing on the PACBRMA of the CUFAI within the Upper Marikina River Basin protected landscape, his study illuminates the social, institutional, and land tenure dynamics that shape the everyday realities of resource use in a highly pressured protected area adjacent to Metro Manila. A central contribution of the work is its demonstration that the coexistence of people and conservation depends less on the abstract policy and more on the local perceptions of tenure, institutional linkages, and regional economic forces. His findings show that resource use in the PACBRMA area is strongly shaped by Manila's expanding infrastructure, market opportunities, and labor demands. As incomes from natural resources decline, farmers shift to wage laborers, with nearby companies reducing pressures on the forest but also creating new vulnerabilities. His analysis of local mapping, tenure perceptions, and land use zoning reveals the mismatch between formal state designations of community experience, highlighting how these gaps affect compliance, land use, and reforestation commitments. The study's multi-method approach, that is interviews, household survey, seasonal calendar, and participatory mapping, capture the complexity of community motivations and the layered governance environment involving DNR, FMB, BMB, PAMO, PAMB, and CUFAI. One key insight is the relatively weak institutional position of PACBRMA communities compared with CBFMA holders, particularly CUFAI's absence from the PAMB. This limited representation constrains community agency and reinforces dependence on PASU, an issue that resonates with the broader national concerns on people-oriented forest management within protected areas. Reforestation dynamics emerge as another important dimension. Antoine shows that forest recovery in the area cannot be attributed to a single actor. Instead, reforestation arises from three interacting factors: stricter land use restrictions, wage employment provided by external companies, and CUFAI's facilitation of seedling distribution and agroforestry transition. This nuanced explanation challenges simplified narratives of community-driven degradation or restoration and underscores the need for integrated cross-sectoral intervention. I see three major direct beneficiaries of this research. First, the CCCAP project, which is a collaborative effort of AFD, CIRAD, and UPLB-INREM. Also, it has benefits to UPLB-INREM itself. And thirdly, the government of the Philippines in general. For CCCAP, Antoine's work contributes a critical social and institutional baseline essential for designing carbon projects in protected areas. His findings clarify land tenure perceptions, governance bottlenecks, and community incentives, elements that directly affect the permanence, additionality, and social safeguards of carbon sequestration initiatives. The recognition that tenuring insecurity and limited participation in decision-making can undermine long-term commitments is particularly valuable for CCCAP's landscape resilience objectives. Moreover, the evidence on agroforestry transition provides concrete entry points for developing carbon-compatible livelihood options. Second is the benefit to UPLB-INREM itself. For UPLB-INREM, the study strengthens the center's mandate to integrate ecological and social perspectives in landscape governance. It enriches INREM's research portfolio with a rigorously documented case that employs participatory, multi-scale methods, the very approaches championed by INREM in watershed governance. Antoine's work also expands the center's international academic collaboration, demonstrating the value of linking Philippine field research with European institutions, such as that of the AgroParisTech and Institute Agro-Angers. His findings can also be integrated into INREM's teaching, training, and extension programs, particularly those dealing with social forestry, protected area management, as well as climate resilience. And finally, benefits to the Philippine government. For the government, especially DNR, BMB, FMB, PAMO, or even the LGUs, the study offers actionable insights for improving protected area governance. It highlights the needs to strengthen community representation in the PAMB, clarify and harmonize land tenure arrangement with PACBRMA zones. Third is integrate livelihood transitions into reforestation strategies and recognize the influence of external economic forces such as the company employment, urban expansion on the conservation outcomes. These findings support ongoing national effort to operationalize INAIPAS, enhance social forestry programs, and develop carbon-ready protected area landscapes. In summary, Antoine Perrier's study is more than an academic exercise. It is a practical and forward-looking contribution that enriches CCCAP's carbon landscape work, strengthens UPLB-INREM's interdisciplinary mission, and provides the Philippine government with evidence-based guidance on how people and nature can genuinely coexist in protected area management. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir John. And now, let us hear from our CRED experts. To start, we'll hear from Dr. Manuel Boisier, social forestry expert and the supervisor of Mr. Antoine. Take it away, Sir Manuel.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Manuel Boisier. I'm a researcher from CIRAD. And I was Antoine supervisor for his master study in the Philippines, in Marikina. I have a bit of experience of social forestry in other countries in Southeast Asia, such as in Indonesia or Cambodia. In the Philippines, it was a bit like a first study for me, and it became very interesting. A lot has been said already about the results of Antoine study. I will give a bit of context about it and what we are planning to do based on this study. The idea of this research, of this study of Antoine, was ultimately to understand the actual and potential role of local communities, local people, in the management of forests for carbon sequestration in protected areas in the Philippines. His study was really based first on a literature review, so he analyzed a bit all the text and what has been published on the topic, but also on the analysis of local perceptions. So it's a lot of research on social science, like asking local communities or any other stakeholders from the PAMBI or others, what do they think about the situation? What are the limitations? How it can be improved? Based on these studies, when my understanding, there are two main social forestry schemes in the Philippines. One is PACBRMA in protected areas, and the other one is CBFMA in outside protected areas. Antoine really focused on the PACBRMA, which was really interesting because this is like the main topic of this project, like to look into protected areas. The study of Antoine is based on one case study, CUFAI in the barangay Calawis in the Upper Marikina. However, it brings a lot of information for the rest of the project in many different aspects. It brings information on all the land tenure issues that can be identified by the different stakeholders, on governance issues related to forest land management and to reforestation, restoration. It brings also a lot of information about the relation between local communities and the administration, the government. So at the barangay level, at the protected area level, or even higher level like the DNR. And it brought information about the kind of issues that need to be solved, identified by these different stakeholders. So this is what Antoine was doing, and based on this study, what we are planning to do is to try to develop a toolbox using the existing one, because I know that there are some toolbox already existing, especially from the DNR, to look for ways to more systematically increase or improve local people participation in protected area management. So that when we come to exploring what kind of marketing options there are for carbon sequestration. Local communities are involved in the process and can benefit from it more directly. The toolbox should help us to scale out and scale up the results from Antoine's study. The Upper Marikina is one example, one case study, but the dynamic of land uses can be found in many other places, other protected areas in the Philippines, because there is first the presence of conservation area, protected area. There are IPLC, indigenous people, local communities, with migrants in the case of the Upper Marikina, of the CUFAI. There are restoration, reforestation initiatives. So these are things that we can find, I believe, in many other places in the Philippines. And one aspect that I find interesting as well is what happens outside protected areas, like how to learn from the other social forestry schemes that are being developed outside protected areas, like CBFMA. Antoine started to look into it, but mostly through the literature for understanding how does it work, but not doing any study in this CBFMA. And I think it will be interesting to have a bit more research on that and to conduct the same type of research on local perception from the different stakeholders in CBFMA to compare how does it work and how one can feed or can provide experience learning to the other. Antoine master dissertation, master report has been already published in France. He finished his master studies, so he graduated. And for that, I congratulate him. What we are doing now is we are trying to translate this report into English so that we can share it among all the people interested, to share it with the DNR, with the donor AFT, the university, and everyone who is interested by this topic. I think this is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Maybe
Dr.
Philippe
Manuel.
has something to add. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Manuel. Next, let us hear from Dr. Philip Rizal, Climate Change Action Program Team Leader. We can't hear you yet. Maybe you can unmute, Dr. Philip. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, maybe it's better now. Thank you, everybody, John, Manuel, and Wella, for this introduction. I have not much to say. I have to say that I am very happy to reach this result because the work of Antoine started with a lot of difficulty, and he could adapt and survive to this situation, which was mostly administrative. And we have, I think, a very good result. What I would like to do now, because I don't want to add more about what say Manuel and John, is just to start a question, but not a question necessary to Antoine, but to the whole community of this Zoom workshop. Antoine focused on PACBRMA, and we know that we have the CBFM outside the park. And inside the park, we have PACBRMA, who is handling the relationship with the local community and the management of the park. And I understand that, maybe I'm wrong, that there is also people who are not inside the PACBRMA, but they are inside the park. And I would like to know, in Philippines, how the management of the park can manage these people, or what are the relationship with these people, because this is something we have not focused yet, and we will need for our project to understand as well. So I finished by a question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philip. That is really a thought-provoking one. Again, thank you so much, Dr. John, Dr. Philip, and Dr. Manuel. Indeed, it was an immensely rich response. So at this point, we will hear the feedback from our partners who have been working closely with the project. Let's begin with the feedback from the Forest Management Bureau delivered by Forester June Barry, Chief of the Environmental Forestry Section.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to commend Antoine Perrier for his comprehensive presentation. Thank you. I am Forester June Barit from the Forest Management Bureau, and I will be the reactor on the research presented earlier. My aim is to reflect on the core issues, present key insights and reflections, and how do we move forward from this presentation. The presentation on PACBRMA experience in the Upper Marikina River Basin protected landscape offers an important lens for understanding how community-based forest management tools operate within protected areas. And this becomes especially relevant today as the DNR Forest Management Bureau advances its draft policy on the guidelines and framework governing the establishment, registration, and monitoring of forest carbon credit projects within forest lands, protected areas, and ancestral lands of the Philippines. What stands out immediately after the presentation is how the PACBRMA case illustrates both the potential and the challenge of the community engagement in landscape rehabilitation. The research reveals several institutional and policy insights relevant to FMB's mandate. It was noted that the research highlights minimal institutional support, the reforestation models, and complex environment where tenure, local use, and conservation mandates intersect. So precisely these realities shape the readiness and the limitations of communities to participate meaningfully in emerging carbon financing mechanisms. So the DNR FMB's initiative on carbon credit frameworks comes at a pivotal moment. So the shift towards carbon financing requires clarity in land tenure, long-term commitments to forest protection, transparent monitoring, and strong community governance systems. In this regard, the Burma experience shows why a policy must intentionally bridge into institutional gaps. So for example, the presentation underscores that communities often adopt Burma primarily as a tool with reforestation obligations imposed from the above from top to bottom. So in contrast, when we have the forest carbon project, it demands not only compliance, but active and informed engagement because long-term carbon benefits depend on community ownership, livelihood alignment, and sustained ecological stewardship. Furthermore, the observed landscape change shown in the figure earlier transitions from the traditional slash and burn practices to agroforestry systems within PACBRMA area demonstrates that communities are capable of adapting land uses when incentives, securities, and support systems are in place. So this is a crucial insight for carbon financing mechanisms. The draft DAO that we have right now must build on such transitions by ensuring that carbon projects enhance, not restrict local livelihoods. So agroforestry, assisted natural regeneration, and community designated interventions can all be aligned with carbon goals, provided that the benefit sharing mechanisms are fair, comprehensible, and accessible to local communities like CUFAI, our target local community in the Upper Marikina River Basin protected landscape. Another key reflection point moving forward is the importance of monitoring and accountability. The presentation indicates that the existing reforestation model under the National Greening Program is largely top-down and often short-term. However, carbon projects require credibility over the decades. So the draft DAO on its current form and on FMB's side focuses on the registration, verification, and measurement, reporting, and verification systems, which provides an important pathway for strengthening the integrity of forest carbon initiatives. To fully realize this potential, it may be beneficial to consider how these requirements can be harmonized with the operational realities of community-based agreements, including opportunities to further enhance technical capacities and foster clearer coordination among DNR units, local government units, and people's organizations and other relevant stakeholders involved in the implementation of forest carbon project inside the project sites. Finally, the case study serves as a reminder that the forest landscapes are not merely carbon sinks. They are also involve social, cultural, and economic spaces in the carbon market mechanism space. So carbon financing that neglects these dimensions risks reproducing the same top-down tendencies already highlighted in the PACBRMA experience. But with the thoughtful implementation of the DNR FMB's policy could become a transformative tool, one that only supports national climate commitments, but also empowers communities, strengthens tenure, and restores degraded forest lands in a way that honors both ecological and human needs. So in conclusion, the presentation provides valuable insights into the lived complexities of community-based forest management. So this should inform the ongoing development of forest carbon credit guidelines, which is on the FMB side and that its current form, together with the climate change service and climate change commission who are developing this policy. We should ensure that the transition towards carbon financing is grounded and real in a real context, guided by equity, strengthened through genuine partnership with communities who ultimately safeguard these landscapes. So with that, thank you once again and good afternoon. So hope you have a fruitful discussion right after this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir June. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Reneo Vicente, OIC Chief of Community Management and Sustainable Financing Section of the Biodiversity Management Bureau.
Thank you, Ms. Lina. Thank you also to the French government through the AFD, to CIRA, and of course for the UPLB-INREM for this project involving the Upper Marikina River Basin protected landscape. And congratulations to Mr. Antoine Perrier for completing this research and of course for graduating. And going back to this, to the result of this research, we are thankful because this will be the result of this will inform policy development from the end of the DNR Biodiversity Management Bureau for the national level policy development. But this is also very important for the Protected Area Management Office of the of Upper Marikina River Basin because some of the lessons and insights from this project are actionable on their end, specifically on the representation of the people's organization, the CUFAI, in the Protected Area Management Board. And I'd like to touch on the question of how does the PACBRMA enable coexistence between the interests of communities to add on the insights provided by the research. And as you know, the NIPAS Act, which established the protected area system in the Philippines, was legislated in 1992. But notice that PACBRMA, the policy on the issuance of PACBRMA, a tenure instrument, was only issued in 2004. So that's a very long gap. And presumably that's because the conventional view is that humans are threats to their environment. Men are the biggest destructor of their environment. We are the architect of our own extinction or destruction. So that's how we view humans from the perspective of nature conservationists. So maybe that's one of the reasons why the issuance of tenure instruments for communities did not came earlier. But there are factors that also influence that event. And one of the reasons is, of course, the presence of communities, or how to deal with the communities because of the different situations in each protected area. We have 251 protected areas today, but the situation in terms of the presence of communities vastly vary within these protected areas. There are protected areas that are where communities are present and they have titles over their properties. So when we say there are titles, then their ownership is absolute. It's against the whole world. You cannot resettle them. You cannot make them leave. But there are also people or communities that do not have titles on their land. So we have to distinguish which are the people who have been residing there or living there long before the protected area was established, and who are the latecomers. So we have different treatments for those types of communities. That is why we have that this term tenured migrants. So these are the people who have been there long before, and of course there are people who are non-tenured migrants, and these are the policy says that this should be resettled outside the protected area. But resettlement is a very difficult endeavor, and we have not seen any resettlement happen in any of the protected areas. And of course, there are the indigenous peoples who have been there since time immemorial, and we cannot resettle them even if they are in the strict protection zones of the protected area. So what the development of evolvement of the policy is the issuance of the PACBRMA guidelines in 2004, and the statement of the basic policy of the guideline is to promote biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. So making these two hand in hand, and towards this end, the policy provides opportunities for indigenous peoples and the tenured migrants to be partners in conservation and the sustainable use of the resources in the area. And so they are given 25-year and another renewable for 25 years tenure instrument for them to develop this area in accordance, of course, with the policy, which is a little bit restrictive, because we are speaking of protected areas, and so there are certain activities that may not be allowed in the protected area, and particularly in their tenured areas, the PACBRMA areas that would otherwise be allowed in tenure areas outside of protected areas. And one of the measures where we institutionalized the safeguard is through requiring them to undergo permits from the PAMB. Another is they have to prepare this community resource management plan, and this have to be reviewed by the DNR. So it has to pass the review of the DNR. And of course, we have to ensure that their plans are aligned with the National Integrated Protected Area System Act, the implementing rules and regulations, and other derivative policies. So it's quite restrictive. There are certain rules that the people's organization have to observe, because the objective, we have to take into consideration the objective of why the protected area was established, which is the conservation of biodiversity and natural resources. So the question is, how do we harmonize the conservation with their activities? So as I've said, we have to go back to the protected area management plan, check the consistency of their activities with the management plan, and all other policies and guidelines issued by the DNR. So as I've mentioned before, communities are treated as partners in conservation. That's why, aside from allowing them to develop the land for planting crops as a form of alternative livelihood, also promote incentives for them. Just like we have this project on biodiversity friendly enterprises, where we want to make their activities biodiversity friendly. So we have a incentive mechanism for this. We provide technical assistance and financial assistance in order to make their existing enterprises be biodiversity friendly. When we say we biodiversity friendly, their livelihood chains should be mainstreamed with diversity. Example is in gathering of raw materials. The practice should be aligned with the principles of biodiversity conservation. In a simple words, the way how they gather the resources should be sustainable. They should not deplete the natural capital. Another is the biodiversity friendly agricultural practices. So this program is in partnership with the Department of Agriculture. So this also involves technical assistance and recognition of biodiversity friendly agricultural practices. Another is ecotourism development. We developed the people's organization to engage in ecotourism, because protected areas are being promoted as hubs or destinations for ecotourism. And the people, the community were being tapped as tourism service providers, as eco tour guides, as food providers, as porters, and everything tourist needs. We expect the people to provide the services. And we have partnership with the Department of Tourism to develop the capacities for development of different ecotourism development startup. This is actually one of the direction we are taking with the strengthening program for PACBRMA holders all over the country. Last year, we did an assessment of the more than 100 PACBRMA holders in the country, and we have identified more than 80 that are hanging for development or for providing technical assistance and financial assistance for them to develop. Number one, their ecotourism potential, because that's one of the enterprises that's where BMB is highly competent in. I'd like also to touch on the membership of the PAMB, because it was mentioned in the report that this is one of the challenges, the membership of the people's organization in the PAMB. What our expectation from the BMB is that all the people's organization, to include the holders of PACBRMA, are represented in the PAMB, because under the law, the people's organizations and the NGOs, local NGOs, should be represented in the management board. If there are people's organizations and they have to choose among themselves, we should represent the, and it would be good for a term of 3 years. Then after 3 years, another group should represent the entire people's organizations or NGOs. So I hope that their membership in the party would give the people's organization vehicle for their concerns to be heard in the PAMB. This would be a vehicle for consultation, them to influence the development of policy in the Protected Area Management Board. First, they get to they have a say on the approval or of projects to be implemented in the protected area, especially if this project will be implemented in this in their tenure areas. So activities are guided by the umbrella policy, which is the PAS Act as amended, and all other derivative policies issued by the DNR through the Biodiversity Management Bureau, and it's also part to provide guidance, and of course the regional offices to provide guidance for the people's organization and the Protected Area Management Office to oversee the implementation of the PACBRMA program, and of course the welfare of the people's organization who are holders of PACBRMA, in order for them to fully implement their community resource management plan according to. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Rene, and we completely agree to you. Thank you for responding to the raised concerns and questions and for adding depth to our discussion. So up next, let's hear from the Assistant Protected Area Superintendent, Ms. Jeremy Gilalas, who will be sharing the feedback from the Protected Area Management Office of Upper Marikina.
On behalf of our PASU, Forester Grace B. Malabanan, a pleasant good afternoon to all of you. I would like to express our sincere appreciation for Mr. Antoine for his study focusing on the coexistence between local community interests and conservation issues in the River Basin Protected Landscape. The topic you have chosen is critically important, particularly given the ecological significance and the complex socio-economic dynamics present within the Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape. Understanding how local community needs can be successfully integrated with vital conservation goals is essential for sustainable resource management and effective policy making within the area. We specifically wish to acknowledge the conduct of your study within the UMRB-PL. Engaging directly with the challenges and realities on the ground requires dedication and a nuanced approach. And we trust that the data and insights gathered will significantly contribute to a better understanding of the dynamics at play in the protected area. We recognize that considerable effort, time, and commitment required to undertake research of this scope and relevance. We trust that your findings will provide valuable input for local stakeholders, conservation practitioners, and environmental governance bodies operating within the UMRBPL. We hope that your work will not only fulfill your research goals but also serve as a foundational resource for future conservation strategies in the region. Thank you once again for your dedication to vital area of study.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Jem. And last but not the least, we'll hear from Mr. Emmanuel Copper, President of the Calawis Upland Farmers Association Incorporated. Sorry, Sir Eman, we can't hear. We can't hear you. Sorry, we can still hear anything from you, sir. Sorry, I think we are having some technical difficulties. Maybe we can hear afterwards the response from Sir Eman. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for the insightful responses. We will hear from Sir Eman after probably our open forum. So we will now move on to the another exciting part of this webinar. So we'd love to hear your insights, comments, and of course, your burning questions. For our Zoom participants, you may send your questions through the Q&A box or the chat box. And for those joining us via live stream, please type your questions in the comment section. So just a few reminders before we begin. When asking your question, please state your name and organization, and let's keep the discussion respectful, focused, and concise. So we already have questions from our chat box. So let's start with the question of Ma'am Luella from Grids. Okay. So this question is directed to Mr. Antoine. So her question is, are there any findings that assess to what extent do PACBRMA holders feel secure or insecure about their tenure within the Upper Marikina? And how does this perception influence their long-term resource management practices? Again, I will repeat the question. Are there any findings that assess to what extent do PACBRMA holders feel secure or insecure about their tenure within the Upper Marikina? And how does this perception influence their long-term resource management practices?
Well, that's a good
So,
question. We did, as I mentioned a while ago, we did an assessment of all issued PACBRMA precisely because of the situation or the issue that happened in Socorro. If you remember Socorro in Surigao or in Siargao. So we did that assessment, but unfortunately we did not we did not have a question related on the perception and the security or of their hold on their tenure. But from what I see, never had the DNR canceled any tenure instrument issued for protected or PACBRMA without any reason. We did cancel the PACBRMAs last year, but these are the people's organization who are not active at all. But for the other protected areas, even if their membership has already dwindled, there are violations. Their management plans have not been fully implemented, but we gave them a second chance for them to continue developing the areas without any warning of any cancellation or suspension, because we see that we are there. They are our partners in the development of the area. There are no other option but to continue the engagement with them. What we need is just to follow through, to guide them in order for them to implement their plans and provide technical assistance, maybe financial assistance. And that is why we are promoting the biodiversity-friendly enterprises as one of the vehicle for them to be strengthened and for them to be assisted and for them to be given imprimatur in continuing their activities and for their organization to regroup to ensure the success of their organization and of course the success of the management of their tenure areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Renea, for answering the question. And given the limited time that we have, the last question that we will be addressing is from Asmin Akla. So aside from the representation in the PAMB, what strategies can you recommend to strengthen the community partnership in conservation, in particular their sense of ownership? Maybe we can direct this question to Mr. Antoine, Sir Manuel, and Sir Philip. Maybe you can start, Antoine.
Yes, maybe I'm not the best one to respond to this question. I think to be represented in the PAMB could be one of the best way to have a better way to speak with the institution and to be represented in the Upper Marikina. But aside of this representation in the PAMB, I don't really know. Maybe it could be possible to organize a national federation as it's done for the CBFMA. It could be a solution for the PACBRMA holders to speak directly with the DNR. But yeah, I'm not sure it could be possible. Maybe there are other solutions.
Yes, I completely agree to your suggestion, and that is actually a good one. It could also have a national federation for the PACBRMA so that they can also be heard, particularly in the insecurity towards the tenurial instruments that they have. So thank you, Antoine, for that suggestion. We will take note of that. Sir Manuel and Sir Philip, do you have other answers?
So yeah, we all agree that local people, local communities are key to conservation. Why? Because they are very close to where everything happens. So to have them on board is better than not. What we see from this study and many others is that there are, according to me, three main elements that need to be taken into consideration. One is that local people need security. They need security in terms of land tenure. They need security in terms of access to services. And without that, they cannot be a partner because they will fear all the time whether they will keep the land they have started to cultivate or not. They need also, the second point is they need to be involved. So involved, as Antoine said, it could be in the frame of a national federation, as it is the case already for the CBFMA, to be more involved or have a more upfront role in the PAMB, so to be in the panel for decision making, for example. That could be also a way. And the third point is they need to be motivated. Motivation, like you cannot ask people to conserve, to protect, to go to meeting if there is nothing for them, because they, especially local communities, they have other duties, they need to find their livelihood, to cultivate, to do everything they can to bring food to their households. So we need to have this kind of discussion with the community as early as possible about what benefit they will get, what incentive they are expecting from participating. So for me, that's the 3 points that would be interesting to discuss next time maybe.
I agree with you. It would take a very long time to discuss that, Sir Manuel, but thank you for sharing that. Sir Philip, do you have any additional answer to the question?
No, any other answer, but I think we will be able to answer more in depth in this question when we will do our participatory prospective analysis, because we will have more insight from local community, and we will understand more their fears and their problem in that time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philip, for sharing that. So, again, we thank you, everyone, Sir Philip, Sir Manuel, Antoine, Sir Reneo, for joining us in our open forum. And thank you to everyone who submitted their questions. For those we didn't get to answer today, don't worry, we'll compile them and send our responses via email. You can also connect with us through the INREM Facebook or LinkedIn page, or simply drop us an email. Thank you, Antoine. So at this moment, we'd like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speaker. On behalf of the UPLB-INREM, we are honored to present this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Antoine Perrier for sharing his invaluable knowledge and expertise during his presentation titled Coexistence Between the Interest of the Local Communities and Conservation Issues in Protected Areas, the case of Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape, and for serving as a resource person for the INREM 360 webinar series organized by the UPLB-INREM on the second day of December 2025. Signed by Dr. Juan M. Pulhin, Founding Director of UPLB-INREM. Once again, thank you so much, Antoine, for being such an important part of today's success. So to close this session, let's hear some reflections from the Honorable Dean of the College of Forestry and Natural Resources, Dean Marlo Mendoza.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I was still able to capture some of the discussions, questions, and insights. But first, I would like to congratulate Mr. Antoine, UPLB-INREM CIRAD intern under the supervision of academician Dr. Pulhin and Dr. Philip Gizol of CIRAD, and also the insights and insights from the different offices, like BMB, FMB, also from the community, the protected area superintendent. So before we conclude today's webinar, let us briefly ponder the insights we gained from the earlier presentation and discussion. So what we witnessed today was more than just academic research. In fact, as we've seen from the discussion after, so it depicts what many protected areas in the Philippines face. So competing interests, complex governance structures, upland communities fighting for livelihood stability amidst tenural insecurity, though they have a tenure. So in fact, that's one of the lessons we've learned. Giving tenure is not enough. It has to go beyond that. As well as forest ecosystems in desperate need of preservation and restoration. The story of CUFAI in Upper Marikina reminded us that effective protected area management is more than just maps, legislations, programs, and projects. It is also about engaging people as conservation partners. It is essential to understand their perspectives on land, their vulnerabilities, and their aspirations. The webinar provided numerous vital insights. First, we must strengthen the link of conservation to community realities. Each of these PAs, so I think I heard somebody say that we have around 251 PAs now with varying degrees of organizational development. And then some of these PAs, and some of the PACBRMA actually have been canceled, especially for those non-performing ones. So that's the reality. They have different organizational development, and it's requiring more or less specific interventions given their context. So the Upper Marikina community, especially CUFAI, demonstrate how conservation efforts can only be successful if they are based on lived experiences and needs of those who rely on the land every day. When conservation plans neglect these realities, they frequently fail or result in conflict. Still, when they recognize the community's motivations, histories, and economic pressures, and practical approaches are implemented, they can foster stewardship, shared responsibility, and genuine long-term protection of natural resources. Second, robust and coherent institutions are critical for effective protected area management, particularly in complex systems such as NAIPAS and PACBRMA. Strengthening the voice and participation of PACBRMA holders such as CUFAI in decision-making bodies like the PAMBI is essential, as policy enforcement and land use laws directly influence these communities. At the same time, better coordination among DNR offices and bureaus ensures that rules are consistent, responsibilities are clear, and communities are not left to navigate competing requirements. It's not only navigating among institutions within the DNR, but you have to contend with working with local government units and other national and local institutions. When institutions work together, they build trust, credibility, and stability, allowing certainty regarding the success of conservation programs over time. Meaningful and lasting development initiatives involve collaborations from government agencies, the commercial sector, community groups, initiating synergy by complementing their strengths. And as has often been demonstrated, the DNR alone cannot do the job. It has to work especially closely with the LGUs and other government agencies. But aligning the plans and then achieving, say, how would I say this? In terms of budget releases, that you have to deliver these budgets and and inputs on time can be very, very challenging because you have to synchronize the efforts of everyone if we really want to have an impact, no? But each of these agencies and partners have their own mandates. So how to synchronize the work, no? And the inputs can be very, very challenging. But if we miss this opportunity, if we really miss this working together, collaborating, no, all of the work to achieve a seamless work, that's almost quite that's like almost impossible, no? But if we want to have an effective delivery of services, this has to be done, no? So if this is not done, we can really see a lot of challenges, no? So government policies set the direction for land use, create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs and enterprises to thrive. Because without these enabling mechanisms and policies, it would be very difficult for entrepreneurs and the community, to take advantage of the biological assets, that they have, especially in multiple use zones. And of course, effectively enforcing environmental laws and policies. So private companies often provide employment and financial incentives that reduce pressures on forests, and local organizations such as CUFAI assist in mobilizing communities, distributing seedlings, and promoting agroforestry practices tailored to local conditions. When these activities come together, development efforts and reforestation initiatives become a collective movement, resulting in healthier landscapes and more resilient livelihoods. But as we all know, that enabling policy, and environment should be there so that the different actors will participate. And it was also explained a while ago, these players have to be motivated, but we have to create that enabling environment so that each of the players will be motivated to participate. So carbon projects and climate programs must start with a clear understanding of land dynamics. As the Philippines prepares for broader carbon sequestration programs, it must manage the complexities of land ownership. You may have a tenure, but still communities may still feel insecure, and we have other migrants who are not given tenure but are also living in the uplands, no? So you have different actually kinds of people, no, occupying the uplands. Then we have land transfers and community perceptions of rights. So Antoine's findings suggest that unresolved or ambiguous land claims might undermine climate actions, whereas stable tenure arrangements increase involvement and long-term engagement. This idea is consistent with PENCAS law, or that's the Philippine Ecosystem and Natural Capital Accounting System, no? Which requires accurate ecosystem-based accounting to drive environmental policy, as well as the DNR's FIPA, or Forestry Investment for Portfolio approach, which emphasizes the importance of effective land governance, ease of doing business, and stakeholder transparency for profitable forestry and carbon investments. Carbon projects that use these concepts and actually implement it, and recognize land dynamics early in project design can be more transparent, equitable, and sustainable, benefiting both climate goals and local communities. Antoine's reminder of the complexities of integrating social forestry into the current conservation landscape in protected areas such as the Upper Marikina is crucial as the country makes a significant leap towards scaling carbon sequestration areas. To our presenter, thank you for shedding light on such a complex topic and for contributing research that will be useful to policymakers, field implementers, and students alike. Thank you to everyone who attended this webinar. We appreciate your presence, questions, interaction. Although we are meeting digitally, today's dialogue demonstrates that meaningful collaborations thrive across distances. Let us learn from these lessons and carry them forward as we work together to build landscapes that are resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. Maraming salamat po. Stay safe and engaged, and we hope to see you at our next INREM 360 webinar episode.
Thank you so much, Dean Marlo, for that meaningful message and for challenging us, including our DNR partners, as we hope to initiate lasting changes in the Upper Marikina and other protected areas across the country. We're truly grateful for your presence and support. And finally, apologies, we've extended a bit, but we did have an immensely fruitful discussion. So in our continuous effort to improve our service, we'd love to know your feedback on today's webinar, particularly on what went well and how we can further enhance our future episodes. You may access the evaluation form by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link that is also available in the chat box. Finally, watch out for the back-to-back installment of our INREM 360 this December. Yes, you heard it right. Happening on December 4th, Thursday, is the 4th episode of INREM 360, entitled What Lies Ahead? The Future of Payment for Water Ecosystem Services in the Philippines Through Global Perspectives. So for more details, please visit inrem.cfnr.uplb.edu.ph or follow us on our Facebook and YouTube accounts. What a great way to end this year. Again, from the fields of the Philippines to your screens around the world, thank you once again for being part of this year's webinar. And yes, it has been a year INREM 360 partners. Until the next episode this coming Thursday and the coming years, let us keep co-creating knowledge, crossing disciplines, and building futures that thrive with nature. Again, this is Wala Catucho, and this has been the INREM 360.